And that's where the title Too Dangerous to Love comes from, because he thinks that he's too dangerous to love because he's legitimately a human weapon. I have so much respect for my dad and everything that he went through and the hard work that he did not to become a statistic. So I own 12 pairs of cowboy boots.
From the TBR Trio, and in this episode of Tales in Focus, we are at Charm City Books in Baltimore, Maryland. Today we are sitting down with Kristie Wolf, a romance author who writes nothing less than heat-packed romance. She currently has 3 books released, 2 from her debut Project Viper series and 1 from her latest Blood Snow series. Now, before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming author interviews. Now, thank you, Kristie, for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to Charm City Books for hosting us today.
We are so excited to dive into your life, to your books, how you came to be an author, and everything in between. But before we jump in, I have a couple icebreaker questions just to kind of loosen you up a little bit. So, if you can write anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Well, you know those memes where it says, would you live in this cabin for a month without any wireless connectivity for $1,000? I would do it for free.
Me too.
Yeah. I like quiet when I write. I like to be alone. I like to be in the dark. Don't like anybody bothering me. And I would be perfectly happy in the middle of nowhere with maybe just like a landline just in case a bear came or something.
That's fair.
And electricity to charge my laptop.
Yes, that's super important. All right. If your books were ice cream flavors, what flavors would they be?
Rocky Road.
Oh, yeah?
Because there's suspense.
All of your books will be
Yes.
Rocky Road? Okay.
All 3 of them so far. All 3 that I've written, definitely Rocky Road, because it's a rocky road. You know, there's terrorists, things blow up, people get kidnapped, and there's, you know, of course, all the drama and everything between the characters. So, you know, it's maybe smooth for a chapter, but then they hit those bumps again.
Yes, and it makes us readers scream and cry and say, why?
Hopefully it does.
So let's jump right in. So tell us about yourself. What made you want to become an author? Your journey when you first released your first book? Tell us all about it.
So I've known since I was a teenager that I wanted to be a romance author. When I was about 12, this is probably the story of many, many romance authors. I started reading my mom's Harlequins. And you know, back then, they were all over my house, as were books with Fabio on the cover, and half-naked pirates, and knights in shining armor with their swords, and I devoured them. And I told my mom I was going to write them someday. It took me a while, but I did. And I published in October of 2023 my first book, Too Dangerous to Love.
Very nice. And we will jump into that, the books in a little bit, but I just want to say that the covers, amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what is your favorite part of the writing process? Is it like the drafting, the editing?
I love the editing.
You love editing?
Yes. When I sit down and start a new book, I get paralyzed. And I've written 9. So when I sat down to write this 9th one, I sit in front of my computer and I have to tell myself, you've done this before. You know how to do this, but I feel like I have no clue and I'm an imposter and I don't know what I'm doing. And so it takes me a while to get started. I have the thoughts up here, but I'm a terrible outliner. And so when I try to sit down and outline, that's when I get scared. So I just start writing, and it all kind of takes shape. But I love to edit. I love to go back and be like, that paragraph is okay, but if I do this, it's going to be better.
If you, when you're writing, do you ever get writer's block? Like, how do you overcome that?
I move on to something else I've learned. So I'll open up a work in progress, like maybe something that I started writing 10 years ago. That I haven't looked at, or another project that I'm really excited about, but I have to finish the one that I'm supposed to be working on, and then that'll get my juices flowing again. And deadlines will always make me write when I have writer's block, and I don't want to.
The deadlines definitely have pressure.
Yeah, I've learned that I have to hire editors and put deposits down and make promises to people and financially invest in those deadlines.
Yeah.
To make sure that I meet them. I'm great with that. I was a wonderful student. I always handed my stuff in on time, always got good grades. But I learned I'm not very good with self-imposed deadlines.
You have to hold yourself accountable somehow,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
What kind of heroes or heroines do you like writing about as a romance author?
I like writing about military heroes and people in federal service, heroes in public service, and I like writing about heroines who are super smart, strong, even though they don't know it, or maybe don't know it yet, but they will find out. A lot of things that I'm not, very scientific, geniuses, scientists, things like that. That's who I'm writing right now.
Are there any genres or tropes, because you have written about romance, but is there any like specific tropes or any types of romance or people specifically that you want to dive into after these series are completed?
Yeah, I have 3 books out, and I've done Enemies to Lovers, I've done Opposites Attract. My next one is going to be Brothers Best Friends. There's Fake Dating, Forced Proximity. All 3 of my books have an alpha hero protector vibe and found family going on. But I'm headed down a darker path. I want to write a dark romance. I also have an outline for a fantasy that I want to write. But I always think that there will be some sort of suspense to my books. I love how the drama and the intrigue really creates a lot of adrenaline and intensity, and it leads into my favorite scenes to write, my steamy scenes.
Of course.
And so I think it's a lot of fun where, you're like, oh, we just almost died. We really don't like each other, but we might die, so let's just go for it.
So what else is there?
Right. We have one night.
So wait, I want to backtrack. You said dark romance and fantasy. Can you tell us anything about that?
So I have a fantasy in mind. Both of my fantasy and my dark romance. My heroine is going to be in her mid-30s.
Okay.
And I guess maybe because I'm in my 50s, and I love everything that I'm reading out there. I didn't know I liked dark romance until about 1.5 years ago. And I have been introduced, thanks to TikTok, to so many things I did not know I enjoyed. But I want to write about a more mature heroine who has some life experience, who knows stuff that a 21-year-old's not going to know because she has lived a little longer. And I want to write about heroines who have kids. I'm a mom. I have 2 teenagers. So heroines who are navigating the world, navigating all these challenges that are coming at them, and dealing with their morally gray hero, and also trying to be the best mom that they can be and do what's right, but enjoy some of the things that are kind of wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you spoke about your adding a lot of your personal experience into your books. Is there anything, like any hobbies outside of writing that you would potentially one day bring into your books?
So I was a cheerleader for many, many years. And then I was a coach. So I spanned 25 years from a teenager until my early 40s and involved in the sport somehow. And I was never a good athlete in anything, but I was a decent cheerleader, I made the teams. I had a great time. And so I have a book that I'm about 75% done with. I have about 70,000 words, and my heroine is a social media sensation, and she is a cheerleader. And so she was a collegiate cheerleader, and now she owns her own choreography business. And if you've ever seen the show on, maybe it's Netflix, it's about Navarro College, they were my inspiration.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so all those crazy things that you see them doing on Instagram, all the death-defying stunts that I never did.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my rabbit hole. I will sit and watch those videos all day. It's like, when people sit and watch cats, I will watch cheerleading and dance videos. And gymnastics for hours. And so my heroine is, she's got a bazillion followers, and she is accidentally kidnapped by a man that is protecting a baby. And so he has to lay low, and she is this, she walks into a convenience store, and the teenagers in there are treating her like a queen, and that's not working so well for my hero who has to lay low.
Well, we love a good kidnapping trope.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for that. Oh my gosh.
Kidnapping. So I, somewhere between finishing up my Vapor series and moving on to my Bloodstone series, I want to get that book out because it's almost done and it really needs to get out there.
Well, speaking of, let's jump right into your Project Viper series. So that is your debut series.
Yes.
And there's currently 2 books out right now, Too Dangerous to Love and Too Lethal to Love. And I want to know, it's military inspired. So what made you want to write a military-inspired book?
Well, in 2016, I had just finished the second book I'd ever written. It was a contemporary, and I thought I was going to be a contemporary author. Because that's when I grew up. I love historical, but I never want to write historical. I just want to read them. But I read a lot of contemporary, thanks to Harlequin. And that's what I thought I was going to write. And I was working as an I used to be an aerobic instructor, too. I was an aerobic instructor for a very long time. And I was teaching in the pool. And I taught a group of senior citizens. And there was about 15 of them, and it was amazing. It was like having a bunch of grandmas that I hung out with twice a week. They were awesome. And they love to talk about a lot of topics that you think grandmas wouldn't talk about. Like if a good-looking guy walked by the pool, they would totally like stop paying attention to me and be like, oh. And then they would be like, Kristie, did you see that guy who just walked by? So they like to talk about sex, they like to talk about alcohol. They were so much fun. And so one day one of the lifeguards brings over this big like coffee table book, and it was photographs by a photographer by the name of Michael Stokes. And the name of the book was Always Loyal, I believe. And he had done photos of wounded warriors. And a lot of them were amputees. They were nearly naked, and they were really hot. And I was like, oh, I want to write about an amputee. I was looking for another book to write, and I decided I was going to write about a hero who had lost his leg. And I thought maybe he would have a service dog. Maybe he would fall in love with his physical therapist, and it was going to be a cute little romance. And then I went to the New Jersey Romance Writers Conference, and I was listening to an editor talk about the type of books that she was looking for. And she said, I'd really love to see something with like DNA-enhanced soldiers and like a super smart STEM heroine. And sitting there, I was like, that's what I should be writing. Like, yeah, like I totally got this now. And so that's how the Project Viper series was born.
That is a great way to get inspired. Yeah. That's amazing. And are any of the situations or experiences in the book, are they based on your real life, like military-wise or amputee, like the combat wounded veterans?
Well, my dad is a Vietnam veteran, and he has PTSD. And so I grew up with that. I grew up watching him have flashbacks and have nightmares. I saw the struggles that he went through. I saw how Veterans Affairs stepped in and helped him lead his life like a functional person. And after that, he was diagnosed with it when I was a teenager, when I was 12 years old. And once he started going to the VA and meeting with people there, almost every holiday there was somebody he knew from the VA at our table, because they didn't have family, they didn't have a place to go. And so I grew up with that found family, and that shows through in my books. Like my 4 guys on my team, they're brothers. In Knife to the Heart, him and his friends, they're family. And so that's really important to me. And so that was definitely an inspiration. And I have so much respect for my dad and everything that he went through and the hard work that he did not to become a statistic. And I have so much respect for my mom for sticking by him and keeping the family together. And so it kind of all came together. I never meant to write about it, but once I got started with my wounded warriors, it just all made sense. Yeah.
No, and it's truly amazing, and it's truly inspiring. I know how much these veterans sacrifice for us and for our country.
Yeah.
What is it like living through that and writing like in your stories? Like, how does it feel to write it knowing that you live with real life heroes?
It's gratifying, and I feel like it's my way to let them know that I appreciate them. My husband's spent 12 years in the Marine Corps, and my son just joined the Navy in August. Wow. Yeah, the kid got accepted to 12 colleges and came home and told us he was joining the Navy.
How did that make you feel?
I was super proud of him, and just as I am of my dad and my husband. But I thought he was going to be, a few hours away, or I'd be able to get in a car and drive to see him. And then he did however many weeks in basic training, and I couldn't even call him. So that was really, really hard, but it was the best decision for him, and he is kicking butt.
That's amazing.
I know.
You must feel so proud.
Yes, and he told me it was my fault that my fault that he joined the Navy, because he originally went to them and said that he wanted to be a rescue swimmer. And I put him in swim team when he was 5, and he was on swim team until he graduated high school. So he's like, Mom, totally your fault.
Does he know that you write like?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He stopped following me on TikTok. I posted something and he was like, I can't anymore, Mom. I'm sorry.
You know what? We'll just let you do your thing and we'll just leave it there. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. The man on your cover, he is a real life wounded veteran, and his name is B.T.
Urella.
Yes.
Yes. So when I saw the photos in that book that inspired me to write that series, he was on the cover of that book. And I had no idea who he was. I had no idea he was a romance cover model. So I write the book, and I'm telling my author bestie, Aria Wyatt, I said, I really want a veteran on my cover. It's really important to me to have a veteran on my cover. And she said, Google B.T. Urella. And I did, and I was like, holy crap. Like, I don't care how much this photo cost me, I am getting him on my cover. So I looked him up. I found a photographer who had photos of him, and I chose one. I purchased it, and yeah, he's on my cover. And then I found an amazing cover designer, and she created his arm for me. Her name is Laura Hidalgo from Spellbinding Design, if anyone out there is looking for a cover designer. Yeah, she created a weaponized bionic arm, and there he is.
That is amazing. And is the man on the Too Lethal to Love, is he also a
No, he's not. He's a stock photo.
Okay.
And we looked for a cover model for the second book, and we just couldn't find the right photo. That, you know, kind of matched the pose to keep things consistent. And my cover designer, Laura, I would find something that I thought was good, and she would say, no, like, I don't like the lighting. I don't like this. And so I just put it in her court, and I said, find me, his name is Kane, find me Kane. And that's what she came up with.
Well, it's amazing, and they look very, very like similar, like the covers. So
yes. So
people who see the cover will get the picture.
Yes, and so the third cover is just as hot.
I got it already.
The purpose of the man on the cover, he is very good looking, but I'm sure there's definitely a deeper symbolism to you putting him on the cover. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That he's dark, and not in a morally gray way, but he is tortured, he's wounded, he has been reborn. And he's serving his country. He is the ultimate hero, and not just physically, not just with his technological enhancements. He has come back. He has made the choice. Like I almost died doing what felt good in my heart, serving my country. And now I have another chance. And now I'm back, like that drive to serve, that loyalty, that commitment, that patriotism. And that is what I admire so much in veterans. I couldn't do it. Like, I admire my son like crazy for going to boot camp and doing what he did. He would call and he would say, and he would talk to my husband. My husband prepared him, and my husband would tell him, like, everything that they're doing is for a purpose. They want you there. They are going to break you down, and they will build you back up. But that breaking down process sounds really scary. I don't know that I could handle it. Yeah. And so I really admire people who have that emotional fortitude and that drive to just keep going. You think about it, if it's hard to get out of bed in the morning and go to your day job, how hard it must be to get out of bed to know that you are gonna, hike 12 miles with 90 pounds on your back, and there's gonna be people screaming in your ear for whatever reason. Yeah. And so
it's very courageous.
It takes a lot in here, and I like to honor that.
It's amazing. The message you share in your book is truly inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
And the main character in the book, his name is Lieutenant Christopher Daviani in the book. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. But he's named after somebody in your real life.
Yes. So he's named after Port Authority police officer Christopher Charles Amoroso, a good friend of mine that I grew up with. And, the whole found family concept that I love to write about, his family is my family. His sister was a bridesmaid in my wedding. And Chris was a Port Authority police officer, like I said, and he died on September 11th. He had rescued 2 groups of people from one of the towers, and when he went back in for a 3rd group, he was wounded. He had his burn, his eye, his face was all messed up. He went back in anyway, even though he was told to stay out. And the towers collapsed, and he was trapped in an elevator shaft. And there's a movie called World Trade Center with Nicolas Cage, and there's 5 of them that went into that tower when it collapsed, and Chris was one of them.
Wow, that's,
Yeah.
oh my God. He unfortunately passed doing what he loved,
Yeah.
saving people,
Yep.
protecting people.
That's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, and I love the concept of found family. I love that you always bring that back. I personally think found family is one of my favorite tropes. It just definitely shows that, you know, you can build a family without being related to anybody, and I think that's so powerful.
And that's big in the military, you know, because, you know, my son has told me, because I've known, you know, these guys just for a few weeks, just for a few months, and I'm closer to them than I've ever been to any of my other friends.
Yeah, and I love that. That's so important. Is in the second book, Kane Darren, Lieutenant Kane Darren, is he based off of anybody in your real life?
No, not really.
Just-
I chose he's a Marine.
Okay.
And I chose his last name because in high school I was good friends with a guy named Darren Dwyer. And Darren was a Marine, and he was my prom date.
Oh, that's cute.
And so Kane is Irish. He has an Irish grandmother in the book who's a lot of fun. And so I was like looking up Irish last names, and I saw that Darren was an Irish last name, and I was like, oh, okay, I have a connection now. Like that's why I'm going to name him that.
I love that. I love that you bring your personal life into these stories. It makes it so much more real, so much more relatable. It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
I called my best friend the other day, and I said, I need a name for a female villain. Who didn't we like in high school?
So is it fair to say you're the author that says, don't be mean to me or I'll write you into my book?
Yes,
type of
yes.
Oh my gosh. So I'll make sure to never get on your bad side. So let's pivot a little bit, because you write about these amazing, strong male main characters, but what about the females, right? So you said that you want to write smart, strong female main characters. So like Dr. Scarlett Kerrigan in the first book and Dr. Beth Parker in the second book. So what inspired you to write these super smart female main characters?
Well, in the first book, I wanted it to be an opposites attract.
Okay.
Because that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of awesomeness to
a lot
deal
of
with.
awesomeness, yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to, and when that editor had said to me, you know, she was looking for DNA enhanced soldiers and super smart STEM heroines. And so that's what kind of kicked it off. And I was like, well, okay, how can I play this? And so I made her the scientist that invented the technology that runs through his body, because everything his arm can do, like shoot deadly lasers. Puppies.
Hi.
Sidebar.
Hi,
Sorry.
Hello. Featuring our visitors, our special visitors.
Yeah, they are indeed.
Talk about what distracts an author.
Yeah.
Hi there. Oh my goodness. And so I made her shy and sheltered, hasn't dated much, went to boarding schools, graduated high school when she was like 12 years old. And so I had a lot of fun with that opposite attract. And I thought it would be neat to have a woman in charge of his safety, because she's in charge of cybersecurity too. And it was fun how he took that and the dynamic of them getting to trust each other.
I loved like the tension and the banter. It was amazing. It was delicious. It was great.
I love writing. I'm always looking, and that's what I love to edit. I'm like, okay, I have the bones of what happened. Logistically, we know what's going on. We know what's going on with the plot. But how can I tie the details into how they're feeling for each other and where their heads are, and make them question things and make them get mad at each other, and or like, I just love to play with words that way.
But them like getting mad at each other, and it grows their tension, because throughout the book they're yearning for each other, but they're like, why? I shouldn't feel like this.
Yes.
And I just love that. So when they finally came together, how, like, just walk us through that process, right? So like their tension, their yearning, and then they finally someone has to snap.
Well,
right?
that's what I love about writing romantic suspense,
Yes.
because in the scene where they come together, they're in the woods, and he's teaching her how to shoot a gun,
Amazing.
and then shooting a gun. Hey, other things shoot too, and so that's what all of that fear and that anxiety and that adrenaline, had just been building up, and not just because of how they're feeling for each other. Their lives are in danger. The program's in danger. There's a lot going on that is just making everybody's emotions off the charts. And so when they finally do come together, it just explodes.
Yes. It was like that slow burn that was like, yes, finally, finally. Oh my gosh, it was great. I was like, I put the book down. I was like, yes, finally. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So what I really loved about the book is that you kind of went above and beyond, and you said, okay, these amputees we're going to give them prosthesis.
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 Yes, prosthesis.
Prosthesis, yes. But you decided to one-up it and say, okay, I'm going to make it technology, like connected with Scarlett's technology, and make them super soldiers. So what made you want to do that? And that's so cool.
Going forward, we call them super arms or super legs, because in the very beginning of the book, they make it clear that they call themselves super soldiers, and everything is super. And there's a really cute couple lines in the beginning of the book where the surgeon who attached their limbs to them, she's telling Scarlett, like, don't let you hear them call, like, don't say prosthetics, don't say prosthetics, don't say artificial, like, they are super. And Scarlett's like, really? And she's like, look, like, these men have come back from the dead. And if calling themselves super soldiers and giving them that little boy confidence is what they need to survive and to thrive, we go with it. And so it's throughout the book, and it was a lot of fun to play with too. And so I wanted to do something with that arm that he has, and make it sexy and make it deadly. And that's where the title Too Dangerous to Love comes from, because he thinks that he's too dangerous to love, because he's legitimately a human weapon. The way the technology works is he just has to think the word fire, and a deadly laser shoots out of his arm. It could feel like a bee sting, or it could kill you. And he is in charge of all of that. And that responsibility weighs heavy on him. Plus his PTSD and his nightmares. He does not want to hurt a woman. And that's the lie that he tells himself.
And it's that resistance that draws them closer. And oh my gosh, each book. So I'm pretty sure that this is where you're going with this series, but the first book is about Chris. The second book is about Kane. Is it fair to assume that there's going to be 4 books in this series, and it's going to be Link and
Nick.
And Nick, yes.
So the third book is Nick's book, and Nick is going to fall in love with Kane's sister.
What?
So it's a best friend, brother. I keep saying that wrong. Brother's best friend story.
Oh my gosh, I love that connection. Oh my gosh. Oh my God! And do they? Does Chris come back? I'm sure.
They're all
interconnected.
They're all supporting each other and fighting the bad guys and being snarky and slapping each other in the side of the head, like brothers and guys do, and cursing at each other and having each other's backs.
So let's actually talk about that a little bit. So you say that bringing them together, they built their own found family. So how unique are each of them? How do they kind of balance each other out, the 4 of them? Because I feel like the 4 of them together will destroy the world. Right. That's pretty much the idea, right?
So Chris is kind of my dark and broody one, the first one.
Yes.
But then he meets Scarlett, so he lightens up a little bit. Kane is my cocky cowboy from West Virginia. He's the jokester. He's the one that is cracking jokes all the time. Nick is my Latin lover, so he's my Casanova and my flirty one. Amazing. And then Link is the jerk. Like, Link is just an ass. But we will love Link in his 4th book. He has good reasons for being the way he is.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. We're gonna get his backstory.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nick's backstory has evolved. I didn't know Nick really well, of course, until I started the book. But Nick is darker. Nick is darker than then he's much more than a playboy.
I can't wait to get to his story and Link's story. Oh my god.
And I'm doing a prequel.
You are doing
Yes.
a prequel.
So I'm doing an author collaboration in 2026. It's called Heartthrob of the Month. And it is, it's a free book promotion. Okay. So all 12 of us authors, we're writing a free book, like a reader magnet type thing. And we're going to offer it in our newsletters. And we each have a month. And my month is July. So every month in 2026, there's going to be a free download to some sort of romance book in my newsletter. Oh my God. And in July, we're going to meet the surgeon who saves his life when he loses his arm. That's Dr. Hudson Langley. We meet him at the end of this book. He's in the beginning and a little bit through this book, and then he'll have a little bigger role in book 3. And so we'll get his story.
That is so exciting.
I have a lot of books planned for this series.
I'm so excited. Oh my God. I'm loving it already. So I'm so excited to see what else you come up with. Can you you said the prequel is going to come out in July.
July,
next year.
of 2026. And it'll be free to my newsletter subscribers.
Awesome.
And then I'll publish it. But if you want it free, you got to subscribe to my newsletter.
So go subscribe to her newsletter, guys. Can you tell us anything about book 3, the release?
Yeah, September 18th.
Oh, so you have a day already.
Yes, I do. I have a date. See, I need to commit. I'm committed.
You just told the world.
I did. September 18th.
So,
and this is the first time I'm saying, like, I was saying the fall, then I was saying September. Breaking news, September 18th.
It's going to be in red right here, September 18th. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that. Well, I do want to pivot a little bit because you're starting to write another series, and the first book is Knife to the Heart.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that book, what you see for the
Knife
future.
to the Heart takes place in a Colorado ski town. And so on it says it's a romantic suspense. I've been told by readers that it reads more like a thriller.
Nice.
Which is fun.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
He does.
And that was my mom's favorite.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my
And she's not happy with me that I'm finishing up the Viper series first and then going back, that she has to wait a little longer for the book. So that book came about in a complete opposite way than the Viper series. So the Viper series, I had the characters first. Mm-hmm. Let me backtrack a little bit. I work in government marketing technology. I am not a technology person at all.
Neither am I. It's okay.
Yeah. That's why one of the reasons I married my husband. He has 2 computer science degrees. I always have tech support and I always have wireless.
That's perfect. That's a perfect marriage.
It really is. And I thought he'd make cute babies, so he has followed through on everything so far.
That's great.
And so my job in my tiny little company called Fed Insider is to recruit speakers for our educational webinars and briefings. And so I spend my days reaching out to public affairs officers and chief information officers and cybersecurity officers from every military agency and every federal agency and a lot of state and local. Mm-hmm. And I listen to the pre-brief calls before we do the webinar. And so we did a webinar about ransomware attacks in healthcare. And there was a chief information officer from a hospital in Washington State, I believe, and they had been hit with a ransomware attack. And if you don't know what a ransomware attack is, it's a cyber thing. And a malicious actor, the bad guy, they will seize your entire network. They will shut everything down, and they will demand thousands, millions of dollars.
That sounds terrifying.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
To give you the information to get it back. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, right? And so the CIO was talking about everything that they did right. They didn't pay the ransom, which is not advised as per the United States government. You don't negotiate with terrorists. But they had all of their everything, like all of their technology in place, all of their safeguards. But then he was talking about everything that could have gone wrong. And he was talking about medication errors and ambulances being routed to the wrong places, talking about people who died because of hospital systems being shut down. And I said, oh, that's a book. And so I built that book based on the conflict. And that I had to come up with my characters surrounded by that. So complete opposite of how I started the books.
That is so interesting. Okay, so I need to jump on that book in waiting for September 18th.
Okay.
So it's a cybersecurity, that's the theme of the book. Mm-hmm. Now, your agent wasn't on board with the idea at the time.
No, she told me that paper crimes don't sell well.
What?
And I said, well, my cybervillain doesn't stay behind his computer. He's very talented. He terrorizes in the physical space too.
And he also, I'm assuming, captures a heart of a certain somebody.
Well, it doesn't count. You have to read the book, but it's called Knife to the Heart for a reason.
Well,
Figuratively and kind of literally.
well, I definitely will have to jump in and read
It's
that
a fun book. I had a really good time. I made my heroine, because I like strong heroines, I made her the FBI agent. And he is a doctor, and he also runs the hospital. So I had to make him a little older, like she's in her early 30s and he's in his 40s, because he's a doctor, like he went through medical school, and he has his MBA. So like
Nice.
doing like, and of course he was accelerated because it's fiction and I can make people do whatever they want.
Of course.
And so it's a bit of an age gap too. So there's a 10-year age gap in there.
Nice. We love a good age
Yeah.
gap. Is there their second book? Do you have an idea of when it's going to be released?
I'm hoping late next year.
Okay.
Because I'm doing I have to write the prequel. And
Oh,
then
there's a prequel for that one as well?
No, the prequel
Oh,
for
this
Viper.
one,
For
okay,
Viper.
yeah.
There will be a prequel for this one too.
Awesome.
I have to write the prequel for Viper, and then I need to write Viper 4, because people are asking me to write it. And then I want to get that book with my cheerleader out, and then I'll do Knife to the Heart. The second book of Knife to the Heart.
I'm so excited.
I'm
for that
freaking
one.
myself out here talking about all these books that I want to write.
Well, I'm sure your readers are anxiously waiting.
I feel like I should pick a date so I'm committed and I have to do it.
And is that series similar to Project Viper, where they're like based on an individual
Yes.
character?
Yeah.
it's the
So
same?
he has 3 friends.
Okay.
My doctor, Dr. Cannon Ford. He has 2 friends who are brothers. And it was only going to be a 3-book series. But then about 3/4 of the way through the book, my editor sent me an email and she said, I am in love with the security guard. I feel so bad for him. He needs his own book. So now it's a 4-book series.
Great.
And the security guard took on a much larger life than I ever intended. And so, yeah, so I think his book will be the last book.
Okay, well, I'm excited to see.
Me too.
It's gonna be, so you better get writing.
Yeah, I know.
So kind of pulling out a little bit and looking at your books overall, what is one thing that you would want your readers to take away from your books?
That even when the situation seems really bad and it seems like all is lost, and of course, you have your black night of the soul, you have your dark moments with the characters, with your men and women where, in every romance where, whether it's the 3rd act breakup or whatever, you think it's not going to work out. But I'm talking like external factors too, things that you have no control over. There's always someone or there's always something that is a bright spot. And when I first started writing romantic suspense, I had some critique partners, tell me like, it just doesn't make sense for them to kiss here, and it doesn't make sense for them to have sex here. Like they just almost died, or like they're discussing like these really heavy life or death things. People don't do that, and I'm like, you know what? They do, and I've seen it. So when I was in my 20s, my dad had open heart surgery. And so my dad's in the recovery room, and I'm there with my mom and my brother was in his early 20s at the time. And so he's in this ICU, and they all have like their little room, but they were all like, all the curtains were open, right? So like you could kind of walk in a circle and see the other patients. Mm-hmm. And there was this cute blonde a few beds down that was with her mom. And those two were flirting it up like they were in a bar.
Oh my gosh.
Like he went back the next day and hung out with her. They ate in the cafeteria. I think they might have went on a couple of dates. And I'm like, you know what?
That's a wonderful love story.
It really is. So stuff like that happens in real life. And then I always think about this. So my husband and I, my Friends is my favorite show in the world. Yes. I love, right? And my life is kind of Friends. My husband and I were on a break like Ross and Rachel. He originally didn't want to have kids and get married because like Monica when she dated Tom Selleck, right? And if you remember Chandler's mom, do you remember what Chandler's mom profession, what she did?
Yes.
She was a romance writer.
Yes.
So
I have not watched Friends. So.
Yes. Chandler's mom was a romance writer. And so anyway, Gary and we took the summer of our break, right? But the thing that led to the summer of our break, we were in Tennessee going to his sister's graduation, and we had a big blow up on the plane, right? So I'm hysterical. I'm all upset. I wake up the next morning in the hotel room. I take the rental car and I go for a drive, right? And I'm bawling in the car, and then I see a Sonic restaurant. Now, I had only been to a Sonic once when I was visiting my friend in Arizona.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Okay.
And I was living in Fredericksburg, Virginia at the time, and they kept showing me commercials for Sonic, but there was not a Sonic near me. So I'm driving, I'm hysterical, my relationship is falling apart, and I'm like, Sonic. I pulled into Sonic, I had my burger and my fries, not a tear, perfectly happy, got back in my car and cried again. But again, like, that little bright spot when all is lost, there is always, at least I always like to find a way where you can rely on someone else or something to pull yourself out of it.
I love that, and I love that it was food that brought you like a few minutes of just pure joy. I love that.
And there's a scene at the end of Knife to the Heart. They are, they're with all the FBI people. Really bad stuff is going on. There's been people kidnapped, and they're figuring out their battle plan. And I was like, these two, it just really feels right for these two to have like a moment, I need to get them alone, and they're going to have sex. And I had an outcome that I wanted from that sexual encounter, and it was important to their arc. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know, like, can I do this, right? So I did it, and I kind of cut it off. I didn't follow through with the whole scene, and I sent it to my editor, and she said, oh, hell no. She said, this is the strongest scene in the book, and you need to finish. Like, I need the rest of this scene. Mm-hmm. And so it works.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And I really love that. We're going to lighten up a little bit, lighten up the mood a little bit. So I do want to ask you, what is one fun, crazy thing that not a lot of people know about you, but it's just like hey, this is a fun fact about me?
I want to be a cowgirl.
You want to be a cowgirl?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
We need to be best friends. I'm a cowgirl too.
So I own 12 pairs of cowboy boots.
12
I
pairs.
have an obsession. I love them. I would own more if my husband wouldn't divorce me, if I bought cowboy boots every place I went. And I like to buy them when I go on vacation. And so they're like my trophies. I'm like, okay, those are from Austin, Texas, and those are from Colorado, and those are from Montana. So when I go someplace and there's a cowboy boot store, I like to buy cowboy boots.
Okay, so usually when people go and visit a different state or a country, they go and get a magnet or a pen.
Yes, and that's
something.
why my husband doesn't support my habit, because cowboy boots are not cheap.
No, I used to own a pair, and I 100% agree, it's not cheap at all. Gosh, I need to see your collection of cowboy boots.
My husband built me a shelf on top, on like from the wall down, and it's lined with my 12 pair.
Well, Kristie, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
This was such a fun interview.
This was.
Such a fun conversation. I learned a lot about your cowboy love, like your cowgirl love, and it's, oh my God, amazing. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for being here with us and talking to us.
I really appreciate this. This was a blast. I can't wait to do it again.
It was a great, great conversation. And for our viewers, where can they go to find you, support your books?
Oh, thank you. KristieWolf.com. So just like my name, KristieWolf, just like the animal, .com. That was my maiden name. And so that's why I chose it, because I was Kristie Wolf, and I decided I was going to write a romance novel, so it just seemed fitting to. And Wolf is a much cooler last name than my real name, my married name.
It's very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
And yeah, KristieWolf.com. All my socials are there. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram.
Awesome. And for our viewers and for everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Tales in Focus. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to not miss any future upcoming author sessions. And you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at TBR.Trio. And we will see you next time to find out what other tales TBR tells.
Yeah.